Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, we finished the book of Proverbs today, Proverbs 30 and 31. And I'm back here in Cape Town, very happy to be home after being in Australia for a couple of weeks to finish this book with you. Now, Proverbs 30 was written by Agar, who is writing to his friend Etil. Now, we don't know who this guy was, other than that he says that he was worn out, that he was not wise in his own eyes, and a contemporary of Solomon. And so he has a number of sayings, 5 sets of sayings where he collects truths together to drive his point home. All under this banner, verse 5, every word of God is flawless. He's a shield to those who take refuge in him. And so he's asking God to keep falsehood from him, not make him too rich, lest he forget God, not make him too poor, lest he get to desperate means and betray God. And then he gives these 5 sayings. His first one is, 3 things are never satisfied, 1 is never enough. The grave, the womb, and parched land is never satisfied, but fire never has enough. It swallows things up. Then he says 3 things are too amazing, 4 he doesn't understand. An eagle in the sky doesn't understand how it stays up there. Snake on a rock doesn't understand how it stays so still. A ship on the sea, how does such a big thing survive on the sea? And then he says, but there's a mystery that he just doesn't understand, the way of a man and his maiden, a young woman. Too amazing for him. 3 things under which the earth trembles. A servant becoming a king. He says he hasn't seen that working out too well. A fool getting plenty of stuff, getting his hands on stuff. If you're a foolish man, hasn't seen that work out too well. A contemptible woman getting married. In other words, she takes her squabbles at home into her marriage. And then a servant who displaces her mistress. In other words, an adulterous woman who usurps the place of the person who employed her. That doesn't work too well. Then he lists another things, 4 small little things that are extremely wise. The way an ant stores up for the future. The way a dassie, a rock rabbit, lives up in the hills to protect itself because it's got no other way to protect itself. The way that locusts walk in sync when they haven't got military commanders. And the way a lizard who can be caught by the hand finds itself in king's palaces. There's like this lizard living in the lap of luxury, and yet it's only a lizard. He talks about 3 stately things: a lion, a goat that's in charge of his little harem, a male hen, a cockerel, posturing around, and a king that is secure against a revolt. Anyway, verse 31 ends the book of Proverbs by saluting women. The first thing he says is that this is the sayings of King Lemuel. Now, who is this guy, King Lemuel? We don't know. Some theologians think it was Bathsheba's pet name for Solomon. So he's basically saying, my mom told me these things. Really applauds the lady who gives him this wisdom, and calls himself King Lemuel. Others have said it could be Hezekiah. Others said it's a fictional guy. Whoever it is, he basically says, my mom said to me, stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Then he turns on a noble woman. I'm assuming he's talking about his mother. Could be his first love, but I think it's his mother he's talking about. And he says this about her: she's more valuable than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her. She brings him good. She works hard with her hands. She stays up late working. She gets up while it is still dark to provide for her family. She's a businesswoman. She buys and sells and puts food on the table. She's got strong arms. She opens her arms to the poor. She plans ahead. She strategizes with her money. She looks after her kids. And then he concludes by saying, after this incredible description of an amazing woman, he says, charm is deceptive, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Not just by other women. This is what he says. Let her work bring her praise at the city gates. Now remember who's standing at the city gates. That's the elders. And so Solomon ends the book of Proverbs by saluting a woman who gave him the wisdom that he needed. And by saying, listen, we're not talking about beauty here. We're not talking about frivolous things. We're talking about a woman of substance who changes the world. If you're a lady and you're listening to this today, God bless you. If you're a bloke, pray for those women in your lives. He who finds a wife, a noble wife, finds a good thing.